To the December 6, 2023 Umatilla County Board of Commissioners meeting. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks everyone for being here today. I'd like to remind everyone that this is a public meeting. It's also being held virtually, and opportunity to participate virtually is open. If you have something that's not on, if you have public comment on something that's not on the agenda today, please come to the podium. When we get to that point in the agenda, please come to the podium, state your name and address so we have that for the record, and please keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. At this time, any awards, recognitions, or correspondence? Commissioner Timmons?
No.
Commissioner Schaefer?
None.
Okay. Approval of minutes of previous meeting?
There aren't any.
There aren't any, thank you. Additions to the agenda, I don't think there's any additions, but I do want to suggest a change if the other commissioners agree, is let's move the CDA update to after number 2, because we have quite a few people here that I think are here interested in that item, and we can address that because it is a continuance, and then move on. Is any objection to that?
Nope.
Fine, so please note that item number 1 will be moved to item number 2, and I ask for the grace of Representative Greg Smith on that, Greg Smith on that. So at this time, we'll go to item number 2, aggregate site amendment.
Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, Megan Dobchevsky, Planning Division Manager. This is in regards to Comprehensive Plan Text Amendment T-093-23 and Zoning Map Amendment Z-323-23, Doug Cox, applicant, and Randy Rupp, property owner. The applicant has requested a continuance to move this hearing to a later date. Planning staff and County Council have identified February 15th, 2024 at 1:30 p.m. to be an acceptable hearing date. So I am asking that this be continued.
Objections by the commissioners to moving and continuing this to February 15th?
Do we need a motion? Yep. Okay, Mr. Chair, after hearing from staff, I'd move that we continue the hearing, or is it a hearing?
Yes, it will
Yeah.
be.
Okay, I would move the hearing to continue it to February 15th, 2024 at 1:30 in the afternoon.
Second.
Been a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion passes. For those that were here, hopefully that obviously you didn't get a pre-notice, but so the aggregate mining discussion is going to be postponed, or the public hearing portion is going to be postponed to February 15th. So if you can continue to stay, and I'm glad that people are here for the commissioners meeting. It's enjoyable to see the size of crowd, but if you're not here, if you're here just for the aggregate mining portion, you're free to go. But thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Doug. We'll see you later.
Probably talk to you before then.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, so at this point, we'll go back to the CDA update. Is Greg on?
Yep, he's on.
Yep, there he is. Good morning, Greg Smith.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. Gosh, I'm a little set back. The audience went away.
I agree with you. I feel the same.
Let me begin by saying how much Debbie and I appreciate Megan and your entire folks within the planning department and economic development. They've been great partners. For the record, I'm Greg Smith, Director of the Columbia Development Authority, and virtually joining me is Debbie Pedro, who I don't know, we ought to be calling her president. I'm not sure what, but what title, but the two of us are on the line here. I'll just be very brief and give you an update. But before I start, I want to share with you, it's very, very important for Debbie and I to every 90 days make sure we're reaching out to the 5 partners, of which Umatilla County is right there at the forefront, to provide updates. And so thank you for giving us this opportunity. The train keeps moving forward. We've been working diligently on a master plan that will allow us, once successful, to create legal lots of record. And those legal lots of record will be important as we start considering industry and opportunities within the CDA. Interestingly, that process is required in Umatilla County, not required over on the Morrow County side, but nonetheless, we're working through that master plan for the benefit of the entire CDA. So we're working through that. I do want to share with the commission, we have received multiple inquiries, multiple communications of interest to folks who are requesting opportunities to locate out on the CDA property. The vast majority of those requests are on the Umatilla County side, and those range from alternative energy projects, primarily solar, to heavy industrial manufacturing. And so it's going to be just very, very important as we move forward that the CDA and Umatilla County are locked arm in arm for the benefit of the entire region. Want to let folks know that I think on December 11th, we will be having a brief, non-typical scheduled public meeting to discuss our road design. As folks may recall, we received $7 million for the construction of that basic infrastructure in the CDA. There's 2 avenues that we're going to pursue, and the board will need to have a conversation. One is half the money would be divided and sent to Umatilla County side of the line. The other half would be divided and sent to the Morrow County. With that said, there's ongoing dialogue that potentially the entire $7 million could be invested on the Umatilla County side. I would share from a strategic perspective, the greatest use of those resources would be on the Umatilla County side in that parcel that's known as the interstate industrial area. But that'll be a conversation for the board to have. But nonetheless, on the 11th, we anticipate having a conversation as to how to proceed. The reason we're holding that meeting on the 11th is, one, we're not going to have our typical or regular December meeting, as it falls right there during the Christmas time. And we don't want to delay our engineers and their work until our next meeting in January, which, by the calendar could be 45 plus days away. So that's an item we're working through. It is important for everyone to remember the Oregon legislature also allocated an additional $5 million for infrastructure development projects. And so that'll be a conversation we want to make sure the county is at the table for, and talking about how we want to utilize those dollars within the CDA. Just a couple brief observations, and by the way, gang, Debbie and I could sit here and talk all day about everything that's going on. But just a couple brief observations. I've requested from our chair, from the Port of Umatilla, Mr. Pusey, consideration on some personnel issues. One of the things that's becoming very obvious is our sister facility in Pueblo, which is smaller. I would contend less dynamic than what we're trying to accomplish in Umatilla, has a significantly larger staff than the CDA. And so one of the things I'll be bringing up at future board meetings is management of that issue. Right now, our entire workflow is falling right onto Debbie. And we need to do one of two things. Either we need to figure out how to duplicate Debbie multiple times, or we need to manage our expectation on workflow. Because we are getting inundated, as I shared with you, with business inquiries. We're trying to take an entity from the very ground level and move forward. And the reality is 2.5 people can only do so much. So just know that is an ongoing conversation. Last thing I want to share, and I'm not sure how this will all proceed through, but the Columbia Development Authority does have outstanding financial obligations that are coming due in very short order. We have a $960,000 note with the United States Army Base Realignment and Closure Division in March. That will be due. We have a commitment within our programmatic agreement to implement the preservation of a portion of the Oregon Trail. Our engineer of record, Mr. Ziari at IRZ Consulting, is sharing with us that we need to be prepared for approximately a $900,000 to $1 million expense. We are anticipating doing a design build rather than going out and hiring an engineer, then a contractor, then a project manager. So hopefully we can reduce that cost down a little bit. But we also have expenses associated with the transfer of 4,000 plus acres to the Confederated Tribes of Umatilla. We have insurance obligations, we have preservation issues, we have security issues, all of which are going to cost some dollars. And so, but I would share in my conclusion is I, as the director, need to get my act together and help bring 5 members together to unify and to determine what is going to be our course of action to make sure those financial obligations are met appropriately. So that's a lot I threw at you very quickly. I felt like an auctioneer, but I'd be more than willing to take any questions. And I do want to say, Commissioner Schaefer, how much we acknowledge and appreciate your service as the member representative on the CDA board. So
Thank you. It means a lot.
Thank you, Director Smith. Commissioners, any questions, comments?
I'm pretty well versed. I'm good.
Commissioner Timmons,
There's a lot going on.
don't be
There.
afraid to ask.
Yeah.
Director Smith has an answer.
He gave us a lot of information in a very short period of time, so. I don't have any specific questions. I'm like you, I've heard a lot of interest in what's going on out there, and I applaud you both. And John too, I know that there's a group of you that are working very hard, so. I don't have any specific questions right now, but thank you for the update.
Commissioner, thank you. At any time, if Debbie or I can be of service, you just give us a call directly, and we'd love to sit down and have a soda.
Okay, thank you.
Director Smith, I just wanted to thank you for making a very complicated project at least simple to understand. I know that a lot goes on behind the curtain, so thanks you and Debbie on all your work on this, and look forward to the fruits of everybody's labor down the road for sure, and not a very long road at this point. Thank you.
Have a wonderful day, and thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to share.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye, gang.
You bet. Okay, moving on to item number 3, surveyor fees, but I don't see Dave.
What's before the board is the second reading of a proposed change to the Umatilla County Code of Ordinances fee ordinance. There were 3 proposed changes by the surveyor for the fees that would be charged in 2024. There was a first reading of the ordinance in November, and so now it's just a time for the second reading, and if desirable, moving for adoption.
So we're in public hearing right now, correct?
Will be in a public meeting.
Will be.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So at this point, I would like to open the public hearing on ordinance number 2023-08. All those in favor of the ordinance, please come forward and state your name and make comments. Seeing none, hearing none. Online, same for those in opposition. I saw that. Seeing none, hearing none, all those neutral on ordinance number 2023-08. Seeing none, hearing none, we'll close the public hearing, and what are the wishes, and come back to the regularly scheduled commissioners meeting, and what are the wishes?
I'll go ahead and make a motion. I move to adopt ordinance number 2023-08.
Second.
Been a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda this morning is a vehicle purchase. Vehicles purchase.
Need all-wheel drive to get up to the building?
Yeah.
Too soon?
Good morning. Kim Beck, Umatilla County Developmental Disabilities and Veteran Services. I'm here before you to ask permission to purchase 4 new vehicles for the Developmental Disabilities Program. We will be turning in 4 of our current fleet, which we have 9 vehicles. And the plan is to replace the other 5 in the next year or 2 as well. They sat there during COVID and are none the worse for wear. I'll just tell you. The money is actually going to be taken out of carryover that was not budgeted. We had more budget than we expected last year, so it will use a little over half of the amount that we carried over.
Okay, so half of it'll come from that, half from general fund.
No. Sorry, I apologize. What I meant was the 112,000 will be out of our carryover money. And it will expend about half of what we didn't realize we were going to have.
Gotcha.
That was,
Thanks.
I could make it as confusing as possible.
No.
Anyway, we have the money, it's not general fund. There we go.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you. Wishes?
I just want to make sure it's clear that it's not general fund dollars.
It's not.
I know it's not, I just want to make sure that everybody knew that was not general fund. So,
Why the question was asked.
yeah.
And that
It was
is
a
what I
little muddy.
appreciate about you, Kim, is that this is funded out of her program. I truly, I appreciate that very much. I'll make a motion. I move to authorize the Developmental Disabilities Program to replace 4 vehicles with 4 new vehicles through Enterprise Fleet Management.
Second.
Been a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you.
Thank you.
for being here. Public Works Payable. Mr. Tom Feller.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tom Fellows, Public Works Director. So what we have before the board today is a request for payment for CDL training for 2 of our employees. As the board is probably aware, we've started actually hiring people without their CDL, bringing them on and training them that and making that a part of their offer of employment. As such, they commit to us to a certain period of time that they're going to stay on so that we can get our investment, feel that we get our investment back out of it. And then, or there is a reimbursement clause in there that they have to reimburse us. So this is for $11,800 to BTI out of Baker, and that's we look around, but BTI has been very good to deal with and very accommodating. And they have had openings in their program. That's the other thing. Everybody else, there's a few vendors over in Tri-Cities that have the same training and whatnot, but getting into the program is very difficult. So anyhow, I would certainly answer any questions that you have about it.
Are you seeing an increase in applicants because of the fact that we're paying for the CDL? It's
No.
gotta help at some point, doesn't it?
It does, and in this particular case, I think we probably interviewed a couple of applicants that we may have went past before that are turning out to be very good employees. So it's given us an opportunity, I guess, to broaden our horizons a little bit, knowing full well that we do have some training to put in, but they're both of these folks are very good employees at this point, and we're extremely satisfied with the investment that we're putting into them.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve payable to Baker Technical Institute in the amount of $11,800.
I second. I'd like to ask a
Sure,
question.
go ahead.
Tom, you've been at this a long time, right?
Way too long.
Okay. So- Has this cost just skyrocketed? since
The
our
the
union?
CDL training?
Yeah.
Yes, it has gone up. What's hindering state, county, cities, just about everybody is the federal government actually changed the rules on their CDL training a few years back, where municipalities and employees or employers used to be able to self-train their people and then go get them the test. That no longer exists. Now you have to use an accredited, for lack of a better term, education facility, which provides that service. And so yeah, from that standpoint, the expense has gone up where we can no longer self-train our people.
So how long does the program last? How long does the training last?
Well, they started their driver training last week and they should have their CDL by next Thursday. So that doesn't include they did have to do some class work, but that was all modules set up on a computer. They were able to do that. That's why BTI is such a good company to work with for us, is we can have our employees that want to go through this training. We can do their class portion or their book portion in their spare time. We set them up on a computer terminal at the office, and so when they come in an hour early or something, they can go do a module. They can pick that up. They do all that before their driving portion, and then when it comes to the driving portion, that's what they do, is they drive and then they do the test. So it works really well.
The nice thing about BTI is we don't have to send them and put them up in a motel and all of that stuff because they train down at EOTech.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, BTI travels for us as long as they have enough people to make it worth coming in. So this round, these two employees are taking their training in Hermiston. We had one employee earlier that we put through this program. He had to go to LeGrand, but it was, it's not. He get up in the morning, drive over, and come back. There was no problem at all.
It's not like they have to go to Ontario or Medford or some of the other places. Entertain a motion?
We have.
Oh, we're there.
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Next item on the agenda is, thanks, Tom. I think it's you again, isn't it? Nope. Doug's gonna do it.
Doug.
I guess I'm filling for Mr. Fellows, who doesn't seem to
He doesn't seem to
want to do this. The legislation changed in 2021 to allow the county to potentially get some funds that they previously couldn't from the federal government. This is for the forest reserve funds. We used to have to elect one or the other, and now with the change in law, we can, if there's another entity that's available, they can receive the funds rather than the county, and then that entity could then contract with the county to provide the services. And that other entity can be several options, but the one that is being recommended and has been done by most counties is a special district. It's a service district where the potential board would be the Board of Commissioners, but it would be a separate entity with its own tax identification number, bank account, things like that, to make it truly a separate one. To start the process, we need to have one public hearing, and then there's a potential for a second one. And what's before the board now is to initiate that process, to start the formation of a special district for a road district, and to set the first hearing for a board meeting in January.
This special district doesn't have to go to a vote.
No, it does not, because there's no permanent tax rate proposed along with it, so it does not require a vote.
Perfect.
Is it countywide?
Yes, it has to be countywide by the legislation.
So who will run the funding, or who will?
It would be part of the county, really. So it would be the Board of Commissioners will be the board for the new district as well.
So I'll entertain a motion to give the approval to move forward.
I've moved to adopt order BCC 2023-047.
Second.
Been a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Next item on the agenda is approved contract with Nash Eastern Oregon Business.
I have some public health.
Public Health is going to handle this one.
Good morning, Alicia Lundgren, Deputy Director with Umatilla County Public Health. Before you today is a request to approve a contract with Eastern Oregon Business Source for updating our strategic plan. Our current one expires at the end of June. This document helps guide our department in the work that we do, as well as it being a requirement for public health accreditation when we submit final application for that. Cost for this plan for the contract with Eastern Oregon Business Source would be for $10,000, and it would be split amongst all of our departmental budgets according to our cost allocation policy. And that will be a mix of both general funds and some of our grant-funded, OHA-funded programs as well. So it'll be a blend between all of those.
Thanks, Alicia. Comments, questions?
I have none.
Entertain a motion?
Well, no, hang on just a
Oh.
second. I have a question. I know that they do a great job, Eastern Oregon Business Source, and how come you didn't, were there other alternatives to putting together the strategic plan? What did you do before?
Yeah, the last time it was done in 2019, we went through Reed Group. They're based in Oregon as well. And this time we were proposing to go a little bit more local.
Okay. Do you know what you paid last time?
I think it was a similar amount, but I don't know off the top of my head. I'd have to look. It wasn't less. I know that.
It wasn't less, okay. It just seems like, to me, it just seems like an awfully lot of money for a strategic plan. But,
Yeah, so this includes facilitation of meetings across our department so that we gather feedback from management and from staff. And so there's multiple meetings and surveying that goes through that. And this year, we're also proposing that our strategic plan priorities get aligned and includes language in alignment with Oregon modernization. So there is some additional work that needs to go into kind of crafting the plan this year.
do you have any idea how long it will take?
I do not. I don't know what was written into
Yeah.
what Nick proposed.
It's due June, the middle of June 2024.
Oh, it is.
With a deadline.
have any other questions.
Thank you. Great job, Alicia. The only thing that I would say is to remember that the county has strategic goals and strategic plans adopted. Any way that you can make sure that those are integrated would be great.
Great.
Thanks, Alicia. Wishes?
I move to approve contract with Nash Eastern Oregon Business Source and approve the expenditure of $10,000.
Second.
Been a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Alicia. Great work. Next item on the agenda is, oh, sorry, that was a joke. Chief industry letter. Everybody get a chance to read it?
Did.
Comments, questions?
I think it's a great letter.
So do I. And I actually reached out and told Doug that separately. I thought that he massaged and put together a great response to a critical issue. So I'm going to make the, oh, no, go ahead, Cindy.
Oh, no, I just, I wanted to comment on that too. I'm going to the sheep growers meeting on Friday and just getting done with the beef producers. That's a tough industry. And I thought this was well written also, and probably a real need.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right.
So if you want to make the motion.
Go ahead.
Okay. I approve the letter and authorize the chair to sign the sheep industry support letter.
I'll second that.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Great
Thanks,
letter.
thanks, Doug. It was a great letter. Adams Community Benefit Plan? Yep. Adams Community Benefit, great community that is like a lot of our 12 communities, from the top end to the bottom end. Some years Adams actually is our smallest community. So working with them has been kind of one of those highlights of being a commissioner, to be honest with you. Going to their city council meetings, working through their community benefit plans. This is a request to honor their wishes that we had at the last benefit plan meeting. And if I remember right, it was for a total of
297, I believe.
297.
That's the number I saw.
Yeah, combined, yep. And these community benefit plans, I know that they're, right now that they're dependent on revenue from the different SIPs and renewable energy projects that we have out there. It's one of those reasons why I think it's very important that we don't discount renewable energy, because it has been extremely beneficial for our local smaller communities. And even if all of those were to go away, it would be a high priority for me, for the county, to make sure that we found some way to recognize the funding needs of these communities. So if you guys don't mind, I'll make a motion to approve this.
I'll second the motion.
Other comments or discussion?
No, I appreciate your comments. When I was the mayor of Athena, we did a lot of great work with these very similar programs. We've got a new track in Athena, pool, a lot of work in the gym theater, which, by the way, tomorrow night's the first concert in that theater, and I think you said over 50 years. So
Is the high school doing their Christmas concert?
yeah, and I will be in attendance. So
That is
look
cool.
forward to that.
No, that is
And
great.
that's a huge part of these types of programs.
Big. So we got a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. I noticed that Director Paul just walked in. There's nothing left on our agenda, but if you'd like to speak, that'd be fine.
I have nothing to add. I was in the midst of a meeting before I got here.
No, that's perfect. That's perfect. With that, I'll adjourn the December 6th, 2012 Board of Commissioner meeting. And thank everybody.